Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well today, and in this video I just recently posted the video that I upgraded my three of my KS0-ULTRAs, to the 700 GL version. So you could see this GL on every one of these. So I actually got the fourth one also running, and it will be total 6. I total have 11 of those, but I'll get 6 first set up, the other 5 running on the solar. So I may gonna delay that because on solar I don't have enough power and I want to be efficient, so I can continue mining 24/7 on solar only. But time may come and I will switch that to the to overclocks if it needs to. So I have that overclocks available right now, and I will go through the process. How do you get back from the miner, especially if you already upgraded? So if you haven't done anything, if this is brand new miner, you don't need to really do any of that. You would simply go to the Tswift. I have the link down below. By the way, this video not sponsored or anything. So there is a Tswift channel on Telegram. You go there and you'll see the link there for all this. There is description for all this new firmware. So first of all, it's the new download this monitor tool. It's important so you can watch your temperatures of your chips, of your board and stuff like that, all in one tool, and the clocks. And this will be important because on the new also firmware, you're not gonna see any longer, I believe, the version. And this is not intended. It's just the way it's probably set up. They were able to do it on this version, but this version could potentially break if you improperly use it or improperly revert or reset your miner while you're using this clock. So be very cautious. I would recommend go ahead and upgrade all of your miners to the new firmware. That is just here, the link. So read all this information. There's a lot of information to read, but it's important. How do you revert that? And I'm gonna go through in this video how do you get back to, not back, but to the new firmware. So first of all, this link right there on this Telegram, right? So you just go there and click on this link. You get to this page. It has all description first. So there is, do not attempt to use this very important, the highest version 700G, because that one, if you go directly, it may gonna damage your MOSFETs if you don't know how they react to any other firmware, because you may be already gonna be heating up at 618 or 676. So make sure you be very careful. Do not jump on the highest clocks before you test from the lowest, or maybe like 562 if you modify your miner. So like 505 and 562 usually not even required this Heatsinks, but I would recommend to use Heatsinks regardless, because it really helps these temperatures of these MOSFETs to cool down. So remember, even if you use and go through instructions, if your ambient temperature, like I had, like over 100 degree, gets 110 here in Sacramento, and I think you're gonna still overheat at 562. I tried that and it was overheating without the heatsink. So 505 may be okay on GL, but if you go to G version, even 505 can overheat on the ambient temperature over 100 degree, 110, especially when it gets super hot. So in Fahrenheit, yeah, so it's about 40 degrees in Celsius. Ambient temperature will probably gonna be, you're gonna have hard time to overclocking even without the heat sinks, even if you blow the air with your shroud. So let's go to the process. So basically go through, you have to modify. I have a couple videos how I modified it, and so when you're ready to download, just there's development version here, or you can purchase licensed versions that you don't have to pay that 0.5%. So if you don't want to pay, you can just pay out of the pocket and purchase the paid firmware, either 100 or 200 CAS for the highest version. And you will get, it's going to be strictly to your MAC address. See, like I have, every single machine is different MAC address. So you do not try to buy one and try to use on all of them, because you may brick your machine. So there is potential bricking as well if you're using paid. So don't try to trick and use just one firmware and try to install. Just don't buy one and install on several machines, because you're gonna use only on one and brick potentially the others, and then you have to pay fee to unbrick them. So anyways, let's go to that step. So you go here to this right there's a link where you can find this, and there is also a firmware link right there. So you click there, you go to the next page where you slide down and you find all this, the wattage for each of these overclocks. And by the way, there's all of them here, not only Ultra. You have KS5L, KS5M, and so forth, the Pro version, original. So all this dev fee firmware is here, free to download, but you're gonna be paying only 0.5%. Now there are also important information there. It's probably not here, but you need to make sure if it's over, if your miner restarts every 10 minutes, potentially you have firewall block on your IP address, which is in the README file. I don't see it here, but make sure also README file, because that's very important information there. So once you download, you click there, you download, it's going to be a zipped file. So make sure to unzip it. So when you just download, I'm going to show you what I have here, downloads, right? So when I got downloaded, you get the file just like that in the zip folder. So you click here, right click and extract all. Or if you open zip file, there's going to be extract all, depends on the Windows you use in version and stuff like that. So I see how many versions and stuff I have of that. So the DF3, I would recommend after you do all this upgrade, probably delete, so you potentially don't use that and break your firmware. So if it's a dev fee, so it's a free firmware to upload, but you're going to be paying fee as you mine. So make sure when you download and go here, you could see there is no longer initial file. So you don't have that initial update, init update. You can start directly from your factory firmware, but do not start using this if you already use the DF3 or DF2, any other firmware prior this. Okay, that's for Ultra only. Okay, so make sure KS0-ULTRA, be very, very careful and read this README file. This README file, very big, but it's very important file, especially for Ultra. So do not ignore any of that stuff. So again, let's highlight a couple items. 700, don't go directly to 700G. So there's a warning couple times. You're gonna be possibly gonna damage this if you go there. Another warning. So 3 times repeat. Do not go to 700G. Okay, so that's the hardware you can damage right away. So be very, very careful. Now the other one is if you have, here you go, restart. If your machine reboots every 10 minutes, around 10 minutes, make sure that all network security firewall ad block settings are disabled for this IP range. Okay, so that's another part if you're using dev fee firmware. Okay, and then overclocking here is the you can overheat your hardware. So there is another warning on that, and then also warning on the 12 volt using server PSU. So that one is actually what I am using, but I am not using barrel connectors. So definitely do not try on the barrel connectors. They're gonna, at 505, they're gonna disappear. Okay, so you definitely, I already damaged one. I have the video on that already on Ultra, because I thought, okay, on the lightest one, it's 150 watts, so it's maybe only gonna be 12 amps. And unfortunately, even on the 12 amps, you can see that already, kind of dark there. I need the lighting on my cameras. You're gonna be over, so you're basically getting over your amperage on the barrel connector. So you can only support 10 amp, which is maximum already, almost at the stock firmware. Okay, so do not try to use barrel connectors on any of these overclocks. All right, and then it's all recommendation for every single firmware there. So pretty easy, at least setup. Now the instructions. This part is very important as you start to work on that version. Now, go through each step and make sure your ICERIVER monitor tool closed if it's open. All right, so like mine are open, I'm gonna need to close prior, so not even stop. Well, stops is working, but sometimes when you click stop, it just kind of hanging there, so it looks like it's not stopping. So the best way is just for this IP that you work in, you just close that ICERIVER monitor tool. And I would suggest if you have multiple, you would just close all of them, you know, just so you don't make a mistake, because that's important. If you have the ICERIVER monitor tool open, what happens? It seems like you would upload file sometimes successfully. Would say successfully uploaded. You restart machine, and it does not take that updated file firmware which you use. And that's important here, because if you do that and you start installing, that means you haven't revert your machine, because this step is where you need to revert first. So be very, very cautious. Do not leave the monitor tool open, because that mistake, it's like you would probably go to next step, but you are not refreshed yet. Just to make sure you did, you could probably, after you upgrade the file and the machine restarted, just go back and check firmware version. And if it still stays the same, that means you did not close that, and it's like you did not update your file. So you need to kind of go back and repeat that step. But do not try to do that. It's the last. I mean, it's if you did that mistake, and you've seen it open, just go back and check it out, and you would need to do revert file up again if you're not reverted at the first time. Okay. So there potentially you could do that mistake and you could break your machine. So these steps are very important. So do not skip that step. All right. So now when you go and if whatever stuff you use, so before you need to be on official firmware before you start doing clocks. So you're not gonna have any longer initial file here, but you need to be on the either stock firmware or reverted. When you do revert upload from previous, so do not delete previous tools firmware, because if you delete that DF3, let's say, how do you gonna revert it? The only revert file is here, so do not delete yet. So keep it up until you actually go and change all of your miners back, and then you can delete that DF3 so you don't potentially use that by mistake. Because I've done it, by mistake I used the other folder, and I had two of them, and I had to delete it basically because my on the Chrome it always goes back to the same folder where you previously opened in the other even tab. So if you use for different miner, it will go back to the same folder even though you selecting, you know, like the DF4, but it will go back. So you have to be really careful at this point, because if you're using Chrome and you will be going from this revert and then go back to DF4, it's potentially may on the other miner when you started, it's gonna bring you to the same DF4 folder, which you potentially can use the wrong firmware. Okay, so be very, very careful when you do that. Again, I've done already a couple of these mistakes, so I don't want you to repeat that. All right, so README file, very important. Read it through. So you see all this stuff here, especially upgrade instructions. So the revert, and I'm gonna go through one machine, so I'm gonna show you. So after we revert, what I really want to test here is the reverting, right? So when we revert, we want to make sure the machine back on the stock firmware version, which is 3.15, something like that, 3.2.15. I believe that's what it is. That's the latest 3.2.15. That's the latest from the ICERIVER official firmware, right? But we cannot install that one. Okay, be very careful. Don't try to put back your official firmware if you already overclocked to the DF3 version. All right, so be very careful. Those are the steps, are very, very important. Okay, so if device already ICERIVER official firmware, then you can proceed to step 3. That's where you skip to step 3 if you have a new miner. Okay, so first instruction, we close in. So we're going to be using this one, the number 10, right? So we have good temperature so far, good clock in on 700. I'm averaging close to 700, not quite there, but very, very close. So I'll be closing all these monitoring tools right there. Okay, so let's just close this. And I will be doing this 223 IP. Okay, so we're gonna go to the browser and go to 223. All right, so I zoomed in all the way here to show you guys that this is my 223. This is the IP here, and you could see the 700GL, the version. Okay, so you know what we're using here. And we're gonna go ahead and click to firmware update, right? So now we need to be extremely careful. So selecting the right folder, see like my Ultra DF3. All right, I'm gonna show you guys right there. So if I go to the other folders or any other folders, I'm not gonna have revert update, so which is good, but or initial. But if I go to Ultra, it's like, you know, you have a bunch of the stuff there. So yeah, make sure you don't use this new DF4. You just go to DF3, and this is the file we're gonna use, revert update. All right. So and we click in update, waiting until it's gonna start promote to restart, and it's important to restart the machine. Click, never do factory reset. So you never use this red one when you use DF3 version, okay, of this Tswift firmware. So once you're done with that, you will restart your machine. Your logo here is going to disappear. You're going to go back to factory 3.2.15 version, which is here right there, but it's not going to have the Tswift 700GL any longer right there at the bottom. So right there, operation succeed, which is good. If you don't get that message, then you have to try other ways. I have posted in the other video how I fixed that if it didn't work. So there's a couple options. Never try to restore factory or reset your machine manually on the button there on the machine itself, hard reset. So this is very important, because if you don't do that, you will break your machine. So now we're gonna get out from this firmware, and hopefully when we load the new firmware, which I probably can go back and put 700GL, it shouldn't be any different. Besides, it should have potentially no problem with restore factory settings, and it's not gonna break the machine any longer, according to the Telegram note there, right, and to the README file. So now after we go and get that done, we basically can factory reset. I mean, later when we're done with this new firmware DF4, which is cool, we're no longer gonna be bricking machine. We can normally reset from web interface, which is right here, or the button on device, which is the hard reset there. You hold it for 30 seconds until the red light starts flashing, and that's it. So do not do that yet. Do not do any of that until you're actually out of this firmware first, right? So we're gonna click refresh here. We probably back to the, yeah, see the logo disappeared, the banner is not longer there. We are on the official way out of the overclocks here. So now we can proceed with the new DF4 folder. So we don't have to do any initial, we don't need to do any other resettings. According to the README file, we can just go and select the right. So do not do mistake here, and do not try to go to the same folder, because this is very easy to do, especially when you have multiple. Either you label them somehow so you don't mix them. Alright, so I'll be using the paid version because I paid and I got some firmware. Now, when you get the paid, you have this MAC address file, which is going to list all of your machines. So make sure, that's how you make sure you have your firmwares here listed. It includes your MAC address here, right there, the one that's at the bottom. So I already checked mine. So my firmware here, it's in the MAC address list here. So after selecting GL here. I'm not gonna go to 721. Again, you gotta try and use the GL first before you go to G or G high. G high is the highest voltage, the all L is the lowest. So obviously you're gonna have a lot better power usage or efficiency if your chips are happy with this version, and that's the most important part, because that's efficiency, and it's you don't need to cool as much, and you're gonna use less power. So obviously it's the best one to start with, but you want to start with the 505 if you just start a new, and then go to 562 GL. If it takes, then you can go to 618 GL, and then if there is a problem, you can try G or G high. I wouldn't go to G high, to be honest. It's very it's using like 10 watts each step probably, so you'll be like 20 to 25 extra watts, so you'll create a lot more heat. But if your chips cannot take that low voltage, and you still want to go that high, then sometimes you can get there. Or you can go back to your previous version where your chips were happy, okay? So there we go with the, don't do that G700 right away, so stay with the steps in the README file, but since I already had the GL on this machine, it's all been tested for a long time. It's over probably 18 hours. I'm just gonna click on this GL, and this is the paid version. Now, after this firmware upgraded, right? So after we are all good with this, then we can use ICERIVER monitor tool. So I'm gonna wait till it's update, and we go back and check our clocks to make sure everything works properly, because the new firmware apparently not gonna show you different firmware messages. Okay, operation succeeds, so we restart in confirm to restart machine. We're gonna click OK, and it's gonna say operation succeed. That's what messages you want to get. All right, so be very careful at this point, because you are now potentially not gonna see any difference in version of your firmware. I can even do the screenshot here probably, and this way I'm gonna show you guys that nothing changed there. So I'm gonna use this picture here. I'm gonna put it on the side, right? So I'm gonna wait till it's gonna zoom out again. So let's few minutes. It's gonna take restart the machine, and when it's restarted, my feeling is it's not gonna change our boot version here. So it's still being in process, so looks like it's still restarting. So we'll have to wait a few minutes, and then we can pretty much start the ICERIVER monitor tool here. Prepare that. Not gonna click read yet. I'm just gonna copy this address, by the way, and you would need to select your ultra file here, and you can just copy and paste. So a lot of people would change this number, but it's actually, the tool is really cool. Even if you leave the whole copy paste HTTP in there, it's still gonna read in this ICERIVER monitor tool, which is really cool. All right, so looks like it's showing the message machine is offline. This is interesting. It looks like it went to the factory firmware, but let's check what's what we're gonna have here. It's not connected, so there's something going on. All right, so here you go. Finally, it's just 7 seconds, so probably let's refresh again. Okay, so now it's online. So it was just starting. Oh, it's actually scared me a little bit there. Like I go, whoa. So now we have banner back here. All right, so let me zoom in, and you could see this whole thing didn't change, right? So we do have exactly same boot image, everything the same. So it will be hard to tell what hardware what firmware version you use, right? By just looking at the dashboard. So when you're in the dashboard, you basically can't tell what type of firmware now, but unless it's hashes and you know it's high. But so you can only guess, which is kind of tricky, because before I kind of liked it when you could see GL, G version and GH version. So now you have to remember which one you applied. So if you have multiple machines, you almost have to write it down or create a spreadsheet the way I did. I basically got the, if you remember, I did the spreadsheet for all of my machine that I overclocked, and then go step by step and record your power usage, you know, your hash rate and stuff like that. So you could find this in the previous video. That's 2 hours long. Good luck watching that. Anyways, here we go. We are at 620 clock, so that's exactly the same clock. So we do know this is the 700 version. What we don't know, it's G or GH or GL, right? So I only know because I only installed GL. That's the only way I know it, but other than that, there is no indication, however. So unfortunately, I was kind of happy with that DF3, to be honest, that you can see, especially when I have this multiple, you know, like I have this bunch of these miners, right? And every single one I have to go and guess, right? Like right now I know exactly when. It was kind of fun to have that numbers, but now I have to really probably do record of which one I use. I will be able to tell that it's 700 based on the obviously on the reading here of the ICERIVER monitor tool. But so I know it's 620 clock, so it is 700. And let's watch, like I'll come back like in maybe 10 minutes, so we'll see if it took. What I really want to try is the restore factory settings here real time, so you can guys see if it's safe version to use, because previously if you on this Ovecklocks, that DF3 version, and you click either restore factory on you or you hard reset on the miner, you would break potentially your machine. Not potentially, it's pretty much every time I did once and I bricked it. So you don't need to try it. So don't try to use restore factory, this red button, if you're still on the old firmware, okay? Overclocked firmware. Alright, if you're on the factory firmware, you should be fine, but not on overclocked, any overclocked firmware previously used, okay? So my goal here is to show you guys that we're mining okay on the same version and having the same hash rate. Shoot, I didn't notice the power reading. I should have. So when I restart, I'm gonna notice how much power I'm actually using right now. And I will compare on this machine if it's if I'm using more or less. So prior on 700G I used 241 watts. Okay, 241 plus 17 was fan, so total was about 258. Let's say 260 with the fan, right? So the only way I could check that, I could check on my Exporia, the meter, the reader. A power reader on the breakers. So let me open that, and I have a bunch of miners there. So the only way, once we start mining, I can just do factory reset real time, and I will show you what's the drop gonna be, right? So let's go there and I'll show you guys. By the way, guys, forgot to show you. So this is the remember I took the screenshot of this the previously. So this was the factory when we reset to the factory. So let me see if it's exactly the same. 325 KS0-ULTRA miner. Oh, okay. So when it's overclocked, it's not gonna say KS0-ULTRA miner. Looks like it's just gonna say KS miner. Interesting. I don't know if that's gonna go for every overclocks, but it looks like you can tell that it's overclocked because it doesn't say KS0-ULTRA just right there. Everything else there after, oh, okay, and there is another ultra there after the 15. It would just say KSBG. Okay, so that's how you can know probably that you overclocked, but you're not gonna know which one. All right, so at least we know that it's the factory one is gonna say KS-ULTRA BG. So I'm gonna save this file, and after we factory restore, we will see how it looks. So now let me show you how we're gonna do it to read the power, do the power reading. So I have Emporia, energy monitor, right? So my miner here on the panel garage. Let's find that. I have so many panels here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, oh, 7. Oh my gosh, yeah, going crazy with that. So garage. And this is my K0 Pro setup where I connected ultras. So there is 3 ultras on those server PSU now. So let me do this. I'm gonna open this so we know the power usage of this miner. See right there. So when I restart, when I factory reset, it's supposed to go back to 0 on this miner. So it will show us the difference and we can calculate. So right now, roughly it's 1700. Let's say 1700, right? It jumping from 1699 to 1709 sometimes, 702. Well, let's average to 17. Let's average to 1700, right? That's fine. 17. I'm good with that number, right? So now I'm gonna go. So let's first see if we start hashing. Okay, so we do start 469 gigahash. So obviously it's only 7 minutes. So I don't want this video to be like 2 hours like we had before. So it's already over half an hour. But I want to just cover these items and make sure we restore factory settings successfully, right? And we have similar power usage on this firmware. That's my goal here. All right, so we are mining, so everything good, accepted shares. So let us restore to factory. I want to make sure both of these screens are visible somehow. So let's do this. Let me go there. Here we go, and I'll pull it to the side so we can do and see our hash rate at the same time. Okay, 1700, right, watts? And so it should drop after we do the factory reset. So let's, and where is our factory settings reset? Right there at the bottom. Okay, so I'm gonna slide it so you could guys see the red button right there, right? Okay, and all right, so moment of truth. We're gonna click that. I hope we're not gonna break. Obviously, I'm gonna have to reset my wallets and all that goodies, but I'm okay with that. I just wanna have to be honestly just, you know, really clear if this safe to use. Okay, we're doing that. If I break, I'll break. All right, confirming factory reset. All right, so this is same almost as you press and reset hard reset. Similar, not the same, but you still do operation succeed and it's machine gonna restart. Similar way as you hard press it. You hard press it when your machine is like you cannot actually, yeah, let's watch the power here. Okay. So 1700 and we're going to drop right now when the machine is going to restart. So let's see where we got 1442. 1442. Are we going to stay there or are we going to 1442, 1450? Okay. All right. So we are at 1450. So minus 1450, let's say. And we are 250. So pretty much the same power usage, right? So with the fan, because we shut down now, the fan is going to obviously the miner cooled down, so the fan went lower on the power usage. Maybe it's maybe a couple of watts difference there, but if we look what we had before, we was 241 plus 17, it was 258. So plus minus 8 watts, that's pretty much the same. I would say it's the same, because the fan's still probably running at about 30% there, so we still probably 8 watts there on the fan when we restarted. So now what's more important to me is if this miner gonna actually get restarted. All right, so machine offline, obviously, because when you reset to factory settings, that's the message. Okay. So you get back to your ICERIVER wallet and you get back to your message that typically when you get machine is offline, that's the message you get. So I think we are back to the factory firmware which is great. And from there we can back upgrade, so we don't need to do anything, or we can upgrade to the factory firmware. Let's do just one time just to prove it that it's all safe. So we did factory reset, and we're gonna go, this is the ICERIVER official firmware update, because if you don't upgrade, you're always gonna see that status machine is offline. But monitor tool, actually, that's the one we wanna check as well. Let's check it out. We're gonna click read. Let's make sure we are 355. So we are at stock. We are back at stock, so machine is readable. No issue with bricking, so absolutely, to me, it's brilliant. I mean, it's absolutely safe. I mean, it's a huge saver now. And we can upgrade possibly back to, okay, so machine not connected. Remember, if you remember my video, if you have that message, which you can go to the mining settings just right there and click refresh, because their machine gets disconnected quickly, and go back to firmware upgrade, and hopefully that will take this time. No, machine not connected. So it is sometimes get that message because you can't upgrade, you waited for too long, so you may need to restart your machine, like power cycle. But once in a while it works for me when I just go back to mining settings here, because you can, that's the only access you have, the IP address and the mining settings. And so in these sections you usually go there and you can change your pool that you need, right? So I can go ahead and change and click save, just to show you guys it all works. That's what we want to make sure it's our pools work, so we don't have any issues. See, I can paste, copy, paste, and save, and let's make sure it's gonna save our pools. And that seems like to be out of the box from the factory, the same exactly issue that they have on the stock firmware until you upgrade it. So which one was it? It was number 10, I believe, right? Ultra 10. So I can save all my settings, click save, operation succeeded. See, all working perfectly. Obviously, it's gonna say the same machine offline here. So let's see if maybe it will take the file, factory file here. No, it's not. So obviously there is a problem, but I already changed this, so you can safely restart factory reset right from the clocks, from the new Tswift firmware overclock. So great job, I love it. Finally we can be worry free potentially. Don't take that with a grain of salt, because you still need to worry if you use your paid version. Again, remember your MAC address here. MAC address, wherever you purchase, don't try to put on different machine, because you're gonna still break it. So there is still potential hazard of breaking you can do, and also you can damage your device as the hardware, your barrel connector, and your right there on 700G. If you go right away, you can melt your MOSFETs or whatever. So yeah, there is a lot of cautions there. So the Tswift not going to take responsibility, or the dev team, or there's a lot of warning about it, or I'm not going to take responsibility. So it's all, you go all warnings there just for that reason. So you're really taking the risk, you're losing your warranty. So that's just specifically, if you want to take that risk, you upgraded your, you modded your KS0-ULTRA, then you can do that, try that stuff on your risk. You're still risking, even if you put MOSFETs and all that, it's still silicon lateral, or you could still potentially damage. So be very careful with that. I mean, just knowing that you can damage, and if it happens, then physical damage is kind of like unrepairable. If you brick, you can still pay some fee and get it unbricked through the Tswift dev team. I have done it before, so it works, but don't do it. All right, so don't recommend doing it. So anyways, the firmware upgrade to the factory. So from here, because it doesn't take that, okay, I want to show you guys how you can actually try to do it, because okay, 223 my IP. So you can go directly to and download this ICERIVER management tool, right? So that's where you set up your, and I'm going to show you guys real time here. So 223, because I know already IP address, I'm gonna select just this line. So if I click and scan, it's actually gonna find this miner, and it's gonna, if it's gonna show online, everything fine. See, one normal, okay? So I'm totally fine. I can go to upgrade option there, and from here I can select the machine 2323. Make sure you use the correct IP address, and you can add the firmware here. So I can add potentially a factory firmware right there. Just from right here, I can do, you have to select the BGZ file here because it's not gonna appear if you don't click on so at first I kind of couldn't find it, but right there. All right, and then you add this file, okay, and you will see this is my other clocks. So this is your initial, I mean not initial, don't use that initials. You're probably gonna have to delete. I would delete all firmwares from here first, okay, because you don't want to confuse yourself. All right, if you've used it before, delete it all, and then add firmware, and then I'm gonna add this firmware, okay, back factory. We're gonna just try this one. Just want to make sure I show you guys because before I didn't. So you can save the settings so your firmware is there if you need it for other miner. So that's the manufacturer firmware. And we're gonna try to upgrade right from here, from this management tool. Usually it works. If it's gonna fail, you're gonna need to basically power cycle your miner. You can also try restore factory hard restore from the miner itself. So because we own the factory firmware, there is no potential breaking. So we actually super safe there because we already out of the, so right there, upgrade successful. So now we upgraded. So after, now we're gonna restart the miner because it's, when you do it in the management tool, it does not automatically restart your miner. So it will not take that. See, if I'm gonna click again, it's gonna say machine offline until I'm gonna restart. So I'm gonna click restart. Oh, it's actually saying machine not connected even on the restart. Okay, how do I restart? You can still use the management tool to restart your miner. So you go back here. Don't click reset because it's going to go back to factory settings. You can just simply click reboot, click OK, and it's going to do the same as restart over here. So that's pretty much it, guys. I'm going to restart, make sure the machine works, and I'm going to install one more time the GL version directly to the factory firmware. So this way you guys know it's safe to use and you're going to be able to go directly right from this firmware, okay? And I want to show you to make sure after you've done it. So yeah, we disconnected from this monitor tool. Oh, by the way, I didn't stop or close my ICERIVER monitor tool. So potentially, I don't know if the factory firmware will work because it may or may not gonna work with the ICERIVER monitor tool. So I'm not 100% sure, but we will see. Once we restart the, once the unit restarted back online, we'll see that. It will take just a few seconds here. All right, so looks like it didn't take that factory firmware because my ICERIVER monitor tool was open. That's exactly what I'm saying. Look, I'm refreshing and machine is offline. That means I didn't really upgrade. So let's try to upgrade directly from here. Maybe it will take this time because I closed. Yeah, same message. Okay, so let's just go then, and well, previously worked where I'm here. See, it looked like it didn't it saved all my pool settings. Everything is there. It looks all right, but it doesn't want to use the firmware upgrade folder. I don't know why. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So the management tool typically works. So we're gonna go to upgrade file. Reboot finished, so we're gonna go upgrade again, selecting exactly same IP addresses, and we'll go to the CASPA this file and upgrade. Okay, so this time I have ICERIVER monitor tool closed. I'm glad I had it open because it shows you guys how sometimes you're not gonna upgrade your firmware because your tool is open, so your original or previous firmware is still in there. So the machine will say like it's all good, successful upgrade, everything nicely done, but it's not. Okay, so this is the big cautious there, and I've done it multiple times. Okay, now it says again successful. See, and we need to reboot the miner. We go back here, we click reboot, right? So we got it. Let's see if it takes this time, because I'm really curious if the factory firmware also affected by this ICERIVER monitor tool. Looks like it is. There is something in the ports that conflicting when the ICERIVER tool is open, alright? So let's wait till the miner restarts, and hopefully we're gonna see the miner back here online when it's restarted. Just give it a minute. Alright, so we just got the restarted, and web GUI is working. So yes, ICERIVER monitor tool will block even factory firmware. So that's pretty much your confirmation there. So there is a fan just started working, everything back to normal. ICERIVER monitor tool to normal 355, so everything to factory. You see this the dashboard now, all the functions working now on the dashboard, so you're gonna be able to do all your firmware upgrade from here. By the way, you can use your management tool you can use for upgraded firmware, because you can just save wherever you use in there, because if you save your configuration, it's already here uploaded, so you don't have to multiple times find it if you're using the same firmware. But if you have multiple machine and different MAC addresses, it's also kind of dangerous, I would say, because if you're using the overclocks, but you can overclock from here also, right? So just saying that that's probably safer just when you go there. And we're gonna just go straight one more time for this video. I know it's super long, but I want to go through the entire details of this upgrade, and I want to make sure once it's upgraded it's back in mining. And again, we're gonna check this power consumption on my so right now we are at 1525 because we're using stock firmware, which is about 100 watts, right? So probably haven't started mining yet. It just it's only 1 minute, so it's not the full hash rate there. So we are updating to GLs directly from factory firmware, which I updated to factory newer firmware, but I didn't do in this video. I don't want to go back and do reset again, but technically you could probably do right from the ghetto and get your overclocks there. But we already upgraded to factory, and I want to make sure it works right from the factory firmware. So let's try that, and we are gonna click update. I think you should update to the factory, because you're gonna have this issue clicking back home and miner not connected, and therefore firmware not gonna work. So you may gonna have these issues if you don't upgrade. So now, once you're done with all units, so make sure when you revert all of your miners back and you don't have any more, you don't need any more this revert file, I'd recommend to delete these folders. I mean, just keep backup somewhere zipped, alright, if you worry about that you did not revert it, but I would just delete this whole together, because you don't want to by mistake the Google Chrome may take you back to this folder and you accidentally can start upgrading from the wrong folder. That mistake I did already twice, and I bricked my machine, so do not do that mistake. Once you've done it, you know, sometimes I open 3 times there, make sure I'm using the right one. See, I'm already in the wrong folder because I want to use paid, I don't want to use defi. So here you go, you have to delete, just use the folder that you want to use for your firmware, so you don't kind of mix them up, alright? So we're going to GL back directly from the factory settings. Boom. Let's wait till update. Let's see where we're gonna be on the power usage. So 1521, we almost start mining there. It will disconnect obviously the miner, but we have 10 accepted shares. All right, here you go. We got the message failed. All right, what does that mean? Yes, it means the ICERIVER monitor tool was open. So here you go. This is another. When I'm showing you guys, I'm having this all kind of issues because I'm not following the README file, alright? That's why it's so important here. exactly why it's written do not have this open. So let's close it up. I'm gonna stop it, close it. Okay, so hopefully not gonna damage this machine now. Let's try one more time. Potentially I'm gonna need to do back reset factory because this firmware not supposed to create a problem to restore to the factory settings. So, but I don't know if because it's failed, it didn't take the firmware. But let's try with the closed ICERIVER monitor tool, which I like that it says failed. It's better than it didn't say failed and it's restarted and then there's nothing, you know, nothing there. Okay, operation succeeded. All right, so this time we are good. So I'm glad actually we kind of worked through all the mistakes possibly can be made, and it's pretty much where you need to follow the instructions, right? So now the power gonna reset and we're gonna see how far it's gonna drop. So 14, 16. Okay, so looks like my fans are running cooler. So we were using about 100, to be honest, 100 watts now on this minor stock firmware. And this is running on a 12 volt system, right? So we're gonna have to prepare our monitor tool back when we restart to make sure we are on the right clocks. So let's copy directly this IP address. And all right, so it's already gonna be an hour video again. I'm sorry guys, it just want to make sure every single step we covered there, because there was a lot of stress about this firmware. Okay, it was a lot of stress that the machine get bricked, not that only you're gonna have to unbrick it, spend time, but also your machine is offline for a while until you get that back. So I understand the stress, and now it looks like, by the way, I'm not sponsored by this video, not sponsored by any of this firmware development team or Tswift or anything like that. I just use that for Tswift for all of my other miners. I know there's PB Farmer firmware. There's a lot of tweaks there. There's a lot of cool stuff which I like, but you know, this firmware already preset, and I like the way it's preset actually, because yeah, you could tweak a couple voltages there, here and there, and I understand that, and a lot of people like that. But if you don't have time for that, you would just simply, and I already spending a lot of time just doing this, but there you have to spend potentially a lot of time, and each machine reacts differently, so you may need to spend a lot of time with that, right? So let's see if we're gonna get that clocks. Okay, so we are 29 seconds there, and from 14, yeah, so about 240, 250 watts, yeah, but the same, yeah, nothing changed on the wattage, so we are good there, and I think we are 620 version, so yeah, we're back to the 700 GL. Their only thing is, unfortunately, we cannot tell that it's a G, GL, or H, GH. Although I can tell, technically I can by power usage, right? So if it's a lot of power more than before, then it's obviously it's a different version. So you kinda, that's why I recommend you kinda as you track for each miner, then I know like if it's next version, it would definitely go to 300 watts, let's say, right? So it definitely not the GEL version, right, or any of that. So there is a difference. It's a big difference on the power usage. So technically, you can potentially figure it out by your power usage, right? If you have your record of each of the clocks power use. So I recommend you do that, and it will help you to determine later for each miner. I can go back, and having this data, I can go to my number 10, boom, 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 and figure out what wattage I'm supposed to be at, and if I'm at that wattage or not, right? So anyways, I think that's it for this video. I'll come back actually, let me mine for 10 minutes at least, and I'll show you guys the result just to make sure everything works back normal. I mean, normal mean the mining same way as we did before I switched to that DF4 version, alright? Right, guys, as you can see, I have run these miners, and I upgraded one more KS0-ULTRA to the actually 721 GL. So take a look. This is the highest firmware, 721 GL. There is a 721G that is gonna take potentially more power in case if you cannot take GL. But if your chips are like it, stay with GL. And it looks like it's probably gonna be alright, but obviously we need to run over 24 hours just to get idea overall. But you could see these two are the newers, and this is for previous. Still, there's two miners running on the previous firmware, and you can see the 700 GL listed in here. And on the new one, you're not gonna see that, but that's where you check on the clocks. Okay, so 620 and 640, this is your clocks, and that's how you know you're mining on the firmware. Okay, so it looks like the chips may be slightly cooler here, so maybe that's why it's not performing all the way in, but especially this one. But you know, I'll have to run it for the whole. It's been 9 hours. This guy's restarted the fan actually on this miner. Got damaged somehow. It went from 5,000 to 3,000 RPM, and it was not enough. It's been keep on restarting. So yeah, for 700 and higher version, 3,000 RPM, it maybe not even enough to cool it down your MOSFET. So consider having like, I have 6,000, it's almost 6,000 RPM, 5,800 RPM. My fans are okay. So that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.